Good afternoon and welcome to Empower and Thrive. I'm Jacqueline. Thank you to all new subscribers. Thank you to returning subscribers, and thank you to watchers who haven't yet subscribed. If you find value here, please subscribe. I appreciate you all. We are talking about moving from a bare, idle land to a land that is beginning to thrive and have life on it. In other words, you've got a land, it's been lying idle for whatever length of time. You're in diaspora and the land is possibly in an African country. In this particular case, the land is in Uganda. So if I reference anything regarding the costing, it will be in Uganda because that is where I know and that is where I'm working at from the UK as a diasporan. 2002, 2003, I bought this land for an approximate cost of, I believe it's 2,000, maybe £2,500. Fast forward, the land has had some work on it and it has now been revalued and gained significant value. Now, whilst in the diaspora, one of the challenges is to actually find somebody trustable to work with. And that is the number one thing. It is to find somebody who will work with you, who you can trust, that runs with the vision that you hold. In other words, you share a common interest in that specific vision that you have described to them, and they can hold it and run with it. Perhaps they have some kind of skill, they have a gift in it, they can, they can be wholeheartedly trusted, they know people, and they can work along and be accountable. That is the number one thing. In the year 2018, I went back to visit, as I usually do almost every year, every 2 years. And I decided to go to the land. And I remember standing there with my brother and having all these different ideas of what could be done on the land. Backwards a bit, initially it was not known how many acres the land was. It was fully covered. I mean, when I say this land was fully covered with grass, and we couldn't even see further beyond the land. Fast forward, the land was cleared, time came, people began to come to inhabit within the area, and I decided that it was time. I spoke to a neighbor who encouraged me. As a matter of fact, he wanted to buy the land, but he encouraged me. And when I saw what he had done, and he described how he'd gone, like the land is by the lake, and he had to dig out weeds to actually pave a route for his speedboat, because on the other side, you can get to the other side of Kampala, which is the capital of Uganda, and he uses the boat to go back and forth almost every day, parks his car on the other side, and it's just 20 minutes or less even, maybe 15 minutes to the other side, whereas by road it's probably over 45 minutes. Now, the second thing when you've got a land is to make sure that you've totally cleared it and it's ready for you to do the work that you are going to do. Depending on the work that you're going to do or the vision that you have, you will need to have the land tested for various things, such as the soil type. That's going to be very important if you're putting up structures. It's also going to be important to know if you're doing something like farming, for instance. In my case, the land is not used for farming, but we still had to eventually do soil testing because we needed to know the type of structures, if we are putting up certain structures, if it will hold up. Given that the land is practically at the edge of a cliff as well. So there are things that we really needed to do. The cliff is quite extremely strong, so there isn't a worry there, and the soil was found to be very stable. That done, and checks done. If you haven't got your land title, it is time to chase your land title. We went through a lot, and in this particular town in Uganda, there is so much corruption. So much corruption. We took different routes and made mistakes and even paid what we didn't have to pay, what we were not meant to pay. We are still looking for permission from a specific body, the NEMA, which is the environmental body. We are looking for permission to actually carry out the project, but I will leave that at that. The next thing you need to be doing is to make sure that you visit the land, even if you're abroad. However many years ago you bought the land, when you visit home, go to the land, look around. If you can visit neighbors or talk to neighbors, don't visit them without permission. If you can, of course, find neighbors and connect to them. That is another way of getting to know people and the locality and the type of area you're dealing with. Take walks around the area. Stay on the land if you can. If you have a structure on the land, which I'm coming to, stay on the land. I haven't stayed overnight on the land. I've only visited so far because by the time I was there last, there was no physical structure that I could stay in. Somebody else was staying in it. So that's that. The next thing you now do when you've carried out all your checks on the land and everything, and ensure that nobody owns it, because you could buy a land and depending on how you bought it, if you went the wrong way or if somebody fooled you, it could be somebody's land. Do some kind of checks with a land body in your country and find out if somebody else owned it or had a title, for instance. So that's very important as well because you'll not be able to do anything on the land, or if you do, further down the line, somebody could come and oppose and dispute. So that's that. The next thing is that you need water. That before anything else at all, water. How did we do this? We had neighbors that had dug well. We spoke to them, and we thought that would be the right way to actually go about doing things. You need water to put up structures. You need water if you're a farmer. You need water if anybody is living on the land. You need water for residents. You need water for everything. So we put up a well. The next thing is if you don't have a suitable structure and a secure structure, put up a mini and small structure for people to stay on that work for you. Somebody that stays there permanently to actually have a structure. We put up a structure that holds approximately 4 single people. Perhaps it holds two beds that are bank, like up and down, up and down. So each time we had somebody coming to work and they couldn't go away, at least 3 other people could actually stay on ground, and the rest of them, if there's more people, could stay perhaps in local bed and breakfast or small, simpler places while they're working with us. The next thing that you need to ensure that you start doing is to actually, if you can, surround the land if you can. If you are in a very safe location, then there's probably not major rush to surround the land. And it also depends on the type of work or project that you're doing. You can demarcate the land by planting hedges or trees. In our case, we put some pines around the land because nobody can come and dispute that when you demarcate, and also it reinforces that there is the owner actually is around, and the land is owned by somebody. We can't put up a wall, which I'd like to put up, because it needs permission, again, from this very body that I spoke about, NEMA, the environmental body in Uganda. And they take a long, long time to give permission, depending on who you are. Of course, if you're somebody coming from government and you have levels of power, that's a different story, or you can bribe somebody, then you're likely to get what you need from them quite quickly. But again, it's cost quite a lot just to get that and to get that done. The next thing is to actually get the land valued before you do anything, and get the land valued again after you put up some structures. In our case, we had it valued because that was one of the requirements for what we had already done. Is the requirement for NEMA. So we had to actually do that. Again, the soil tests were actually a requirement. So if you're a farmer, you may not need to do that soil test at all. You just have a land and you know the soil. You just start your farming. You do what you need to do. So there are different requirements for different types of projects and so forth. For today, these are the first few things that you need. The well cost approximately 7 million shillings. So again, this is shillings. You can do a calculation. If anybody wants the name of the company that did my well, I can actually give it to them. Just message me or leave a message in the comment section. And the next thing, we faced some challenges and oppositions. Now, I'm going to direct it back and say, pray on the land, or get a good pastor to pray on the land before you start any projects. Because we faced opposition. When we started to clear the land and put up our pine trees, we had somebody come to clear, a tractor come clear the land before we started to put down some vegetables, because we said we are going to use the land to do that while we are waiting for permission. And he said he's going to clear the road for us just by the pine trees where the cars run along and people walk. And he cleared it, and cars could run smoothly on there and everything. And we had the local people come and start to throw stones onto the road. Now that really puzzled us. That really puzzled me. Because you you feel like you're doing something for the local area, and possibly you're going to employ people from the local area. But I'm just going to give it as a and throw it there as a food for thought, or as a warning that not everybody is going to think like you. You may think you're bringing some kind of life to a local village. You're bringing something new. You get the opposition. Why? Because people do not always like change, and they're afraid of change, and they may not understand why you're doing what you're doing. So that's that as well. We work with the LC1, which is the local like a local counselor, like a leader within a village, within a locality, that deals with disputes. Is somebody that you can go to regarding different matters of land, neighborhood issues, crime, and so forth, and many other things. So we have that relationship with that person, and you can build relationships with people like that and actually make them your friend, because um, they can work with you, and they can make things easier for you in that locality if you're facing issues. We went as far as dealing with what I would say is witchcraft, because one person that we worked with, we had to let them go because of related issues. Another day, another video, and he wasn't happy, and he was right next to the land. He's now gone since, because the land was bought, and he had to leave. We had, I think it was 2 eggs covered with a red cloth put in front of my land. As far as we know, we've done nothing wrong to anybody. But I believe that that area is known for levels of, I don't know. Um, I'm not afraid of anything, because like I said, you've done nothing wrong to anybody. You are bringing life to your land, and you're hoping to actually help people in the locality. So be wary of that. You will deal with opposition, so be prayerful. Opposition is something that comes anytime you have a vision. You will have opposition. Anytime you have a goal in life, anytime you're doing well, you will deal with opposition. And this is part of the reason why I reveal what I'm doing from Diaspora today, and possibly ongoing, without necessarily giving full details of what I'm going, because I am somebody that I've dealt with a range of challenges, just because I trust too much and I put too much information out there. But I am learning, and I cannot easily be fooled, because God is with me. Guys, I don't know why I put that there, but I put it anyway. So that aside, and to put a structure for yourself to live in, so that each time you go, um, you know, even if the land is not necessarily a residential one, you have a structure which you can actually say, oh, I can stay here for the next 2 or 3 days and do some work on my land. I would love to go there and stay in a structure and do some work on my land, of which, by the way, we're having some structures there already that potentially I might stay on, staying for the time that I am there. The next thing, a toilet, whether that is a toilet in a structure that you've built, or whether in the case of Uganda, for instance, all places usually have external, what they call pit latrines. It may not sound nice to certain African people in certain countries, but in Uganda, this is a very typical thing that was always done and used during those days of the colonization for people who are external to actually use. Imagine you have numerous workers on ground and they all have to go inside the house to actually use your toilet. It's not always suitable, it's not always ideal. But these specific toilets that we've built have actually got modern toilet seats over them. So they are not, you or anybody, should I say, squatting right down on the floor. We've actually modernized them a bit. So that is something that is very necessary as well. And yes, visit the land often to actually continue to build mental pictures of what you would like it to be like, what you would like it to look like. One of the things we also did was just as you are going into the land, we sectioned off one area with hedges and we fenced off part of the area, so because we are keeping animals for now on one side, and then the workers' house would be on the is on the upper side. Um, as you go into the land. So that is it for now. These are the first few things to work on, to do while you're in the diaspora, working on your land, on your homestead, on your project while you are still here. It is crucial and it is important. If you're passionate about Africa, on this channel, we talk about immigration, we talk about immigrants and life in the UK. I talk about my life in the UK sometimes. Um, we talk about coming to work in the UK, the sorts of jobs you could do, and the challenges that you may face on this channel, and also parenting as well, where there are children that are special needs as well. This is an area that I also like to touch on. Thank you so much for watching. If you've watched till now, there are some pictures and videos that I have linked into this conversation here today. Do enjoy, do share, and God bless you. Until next time, subscribe, comment, like, and share. Bye-bye.